Welcome everybody to week 3, day 1, or I guess it's Wednesday, however you want to put that. We did not have class on Labor Day. Attendance has been taken. I got everyone's attendance in. Should be fine. Let's go over the theories of truth quiz. Not everyone did too well on that. Let's see what my message is here. Alright, quiz statistics. Alright, so pretty interesting distribution here for the quiz. Alright, so let's go through this. Match the sentence to what theory of truth the speaker is probably using. Alright, while you make a good point, I'm a Republican, and what you say would hurt the Republican Party so cannot be true. It's a Marxist theory of truth, where things that are true are that which benefit you politically. All right. Everyone knows slavery is wrong, so slavery is wrong. That is consensus theory. So there is a consensus that slavery is wrong, therefore slavery is wrong. You think that Sbarro pizza calzones are the greatest mall food? That is unquestionably true. That's deflationary. So you're just indicating agreement with somebody. It is true that some plants use chlorophyll to absorb energy from sunlight, because some plants really do use chlorophyll to absorb energy from sunlight. That's correspondence theory, most commonly used in science. We know that 2 + 2 = 4 because it matches the axioms of mathematics. Coherence theory. I don't know if matches is exactly the right word, but, that's, if you had to guess which theory of truth they were using, this would be coherence theory, right? They're saying we know certain things to be true, axiomatically, and this claim you're making here is true because it agrees with these other things we know to be true. I don't really know if my grandpa was racist or not, but it makes me happy to think he wasn't, so that's what I'm going to believe. So that's pragmatic, more or less. None of these are perhaps exact matches, but any questions about that? You had a mouse climb on your face while you slept? Wasn't there a house in Fresno about a year ago where a guy found a black widow and he burned down his house accidentally because he was trying to kill the spider, and he ended up setting his house on fire and burning it down? The voice is freezing. Okay, let's see if we can fix that. How about now? He said it was an accident, but I would have done the same thing. That's the only proper way to kill the spider. Yeah. So is the streaming better now? You can't see it? Okay, let me change the quality here. Let's stop streaming and restart it. Wait, people don't have a flamethrower just for spiders? Yeah, that's funny. Okay, I lowered the resolution on the stream, so let's join in and tell me if that works better for you. Okay, all right, cool. No answer. You gotta pick something. There's no penalty for wrong. Okay. Okay, good. I'm glad the stream's working. Alright, so let's talk about arguments today. So, an argument is when you try to establish some conclusion as being true. There's different kinds of arguments and different kinds of claims and different ways of showing that a conclusion is true. For example, if I want to tell you that pizza is the best food, I might use consensus theory of truth for that, right? I might say, like, look, everyone agrees that pizza's the best food. What are you going to do? Prove it scientifically through the amount of fat and sugar in it? Nah. It's just, it's a when we're talking about best food, that just means people's favorite. You got to use consensus theory for truth for that. And here's a poll, if Americans were left on a desert island and they could have one food, pizza, boom, there you go, proven, or something like that. Okay, so in that case, my claim would be that pizza is the best food, and the premise, a premise is sort of your starting point, and the starting point for the argument. You don't necessarily need to argue like that consensus theory is right, although you can. But like, we might start with just the notion that consensus theory is the best theory of truth to use when talking about best food, right? Because it doesn't really make sense to use the other ones. Flies don't know what a knife is. Cutting off her nose by trying to scare a fly. That's funny. Yesterday I discovered I had a samurai sword that I didn't know that I had. That was surprising. I was like, I got a katana and a wakizashi and a tanto, and I didn't know that I had them. So I used the tanto to open a bottle of water, and then I realized there was like oil in the thing, and it went right into the water. So I had to throw the whole thing away. Oops. So the premise is kind of like your starting point for an argument. And then the conclusion is the thing you're trying to prove, the claim usually, right? And so basically, an argument is working from a starting point to an ending point. That's kind of what an argument is. It's trying to show that if the premises are true, the conclusion is true or probably true. Imagine casually having... Yeah, no, it's not even having it casually lying around. I literally didn't even remember buying the thing. And I was just like, why is this here? Like, I don't even know where it came from. Like, yeah. So, that was fun. I want to play Fruit Ninja in real life. That's funny. Although, with the oil on it, like, you probably wouldn't want to eat the fruit afterwards. You know what I mean? Like, that it was kind of nasty looking. That's why I had to throw it. It was like a 2.5 gallon bottle of water too that I stabbed to get open, and then it was like all oily, and I was like, can't drink that now, can I? Damn. I have to go back to the store and get another one. Man watches Demon Slayer once. Yeah. I watched all of the first season of Demon Slayer, but not really into that show. Not really into it. Just I don't know. Too shonen jumpy for me. Okay. So, an argument starts with a premise, reasons its way to a conclusion, and it does so oftentimes, hopefully, by using evidence. So, for example, I might present evidence that pizza is the number one food in America, most popular food in America, all right? And you like collecting weapons and have a decent long blade collection. Yeah. I've got different weapons here. I've got like a cavalry saber replica, not a real Civil War cavalry saber. Still, it's kind of a real weapon, I guess. Will you be prepared for a zombie apocalypse? Best weapons of fly swatter. Yeah, it's one you use the most, right? And so evidence is what allows you to sort of support an argument, right? And that's one of the things that I wanted you to use in your piracy argument was you need to present at least one piece of evidence supporting your argument. Okay? So all of you should have had the claim that piracy is good or desirable or not as bad as people thought it was. There's a variety of ways people presented that claim. It's fine. And to argue for piracy, you all were required to present at least one piece of evidence, like pretty pretty low bar, I feel, that was set there. Nonetheless, of course, you always have the people that don't read the assignment and argue against piracy for their essay. And I don't know, like, frankly, I don't know the thought process there. Like, maybe they just didn't read it right, or just thought, there's no way that a professor would require us to argue for piracy. It's a trap, meme. It's funny. Yeah, anyway. But all of you are required to present at least one piece of evidence. Okay. So let's present a sample argument here. Let's talk about artificial intelligence. So AI, good. What do you guys think? Is it good? Is it bad? Let's talk specifically about the risk that artificial intelligence is going to start firing people, right? Or making people redundant and causing them to lose their jobs. Maybe is a more accurate, more precise way of putting that. For example, autonomous vehicles. Autonomous vehicles don't need to be perfect. They just need to be better than humans. And once an autonomous vehicle is better than a human, then all the truck drivers in America are going to get fired. You know what I mean? Might not take place immediately because you have to roll out the autonomous trucks and whatnot, which takes time. But that's a big chunk of our economy, right? So let's say that our premise is that AI can be twice as safe as a human truck driver, and they don't get tired on top of that, right? What do you think? Is that present an argument, present a claim? We should encourage the adaptation of AI. It'll be good for society to have less car accidents, truck accidents. Or it's bad. It's going to result in the firing and redundancy of millions of Americans. Right? What do you think? Detroit become human? Yeah, it could begin in moderation. Yeah, but what do you think? Make a claim. Like, present a claim here on Discord. And if you're following along at home, go on to the Help Center, make a claim. Is AI a net good? Let's just talk specifically about autonomous vehicles, because that's kind of what's in the news right now with Tesla and all this stuff. Did you hear that Tesla's auto driver code got stolen by hackers and released on the internet? You guys hear that? That took place yesterday. Source? Yeah, fair enough. Let's see if I can come up with some evidence for that. Tesla Autopilot source code was stolen. No, this isn't the same one. This is from 2019. This is a different one. Chinese EV stole its source code. Yeah. Anyway, so sort by date. Yeah, it's a good idea. Okay, there we go. So, Tesla's full self-driving beta software is leaked, and it's being passed around the Tesla hacking community. So, there you go. So that was 18 hours ago that that thing was released. Okay, so there's your evidence for it. 1,000+ kill streak. So make an argument, right? Make an argument. Claim we should ban AI. Premise, human employment is one of our top priorities in a society. Evidence, and you can find different links about how AI driving is going to displace truck drivers. And therefore, if employment is our top priority and AI will reduce employment, therefore, then, we should not allow AI to displace people. We should regulate it. Something like that. Okay. Wally, yeah. They displace all the trash picker-uppers, right? So that's an example of an argument, right? Or here's another argument on the other side. Human lives are the highest priority. Premise, human lives are the highest priority. Our claim is that we should not only not regulate AI, but we should promote it in cases where it is safer, right? So premise, human lives are our top moral priority. Provide evidence. Once AI is, let's say, 50% safer than a human driver, like, for every 100,000 miles driven, the accident rate is half that of a human driver. Once we can get AI to that point, then it would be immoral to allow humans to keep driving trucks, because you're killing people, right? Let's say you kill one person for every million truck miles driven, right? Then for every truck driver you have on the street, for every million miles, a person dies. And if an AI can be a little bit safer, 50% safer, half a person dies for every million miles. So you take up the total number of miles driven in America by trucks each year, and that's a form of evidence. How many miles are driven by trucks each year, right? BTS.gov. Truck accident statistics. Oh. 74% of all fatal passenger vehicle accidents involve a large truck. Tire defects account for 30% of all truck-related accidents. 130,000 people suffer from injuries in truck accidents a year. 4,000 deaths in 2017. So if AI could be 50% safer, then it'd be 2,000 deaths a year. So I would cite that, and I'd probably not use that website, but click on whatever site the link was off that site, and actually dig into the actual sources and look at the original sources, because that's a big thing that we talk about in this class, right? Don't just read a blog entry like that, top 5 hits, No, actually look at the source and see if it says what it says it's saying. But let's say there's 4,000 people a year, and if we were to switch to AI driving, it would kill 2,000 a year. Now, it's scarier to have an AI killing somebody, right? Because that evokes Terminator, right? Skynet, right? But that's 2,000 people a year that are dying that don't have to. If we had AI that was that good, which maybe we do, maybe we don't, who knows? So the evidence we'd present was, these various stats and figures on deaths. How many deaths are due to humans being tired? AI doesn't get tired, right? And so if your premise is that human life must be our number one moral priority, then you present evidence about, AI being safer than human truck drivers. Then the only conclusion you can have is that we should ban human truck drivers, and morally speaking, it's the only moral decision, right? We should ban human truck drivers and have only AI people in trucks, right? So, plus population is growing each year. Yeah, that'd be a good counter argument, right? Okay. I often hear these stats. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with this. It's important for us to have jobs instead of AI taking over them. Yeah, and so this is what makes life interesting, right? Is that there are different moral priorities in life, right? Like what is the acceptable trade-off between a human life and employment? If we could save one human life by having everybody not work for the rest of our lives, is it worth it? Look at the pandemic. Right? Like what's been going on with the pandemic over the last year, right? There's been this dynamic tension between people not working and saving people's lives, right? Like that's sort of the debate. Like, at what point do we be like, all right, somebody's going to die, go back to work? Yeah, right? Like, I mean, that's literally the trade-off we're asking people to make. Is like, yeah, we understand people are going to die, but work's important too. And so we feel really awkward and like really uncomfortable making that trade-off, right? But like, how many people dying is an acceptable trade-off for people working? You know what I mean? The hardest choices require the strongest wills. Right? So, problem with gaining experience at a retail-like jobs, and most other jobs aren't going to look at that as experience. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, like when I applied for a job at IBM, the guy read over my resume, and out of my resume and my experience at Dairy Queen, where I mopped and scooped ice cream, and he kind of laughed at that because it sounded like I was mopping the ice cream. He's like, just friendly advice, just take Dairy Queen off your resume if you're applying for a tech job. Just take it off. Yeah, some of you may die, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. Laura Farquaad from Shrek. Yeah. So yeah, in the business of people wearing masks, right? Like Delta, like we got rid of the mask mandate. It was a couple months ago, and then there's been a surge in the number of cases of COVID since then. And so how many people have died as the result of the mask mandate ending, right? And the trade-off for that is that now, businesses are basically back in business again, and it makes people really uncomfortable, right? Like how much money is a human life worth? They didn't even know that. They didn't even know the value of a human life in dollars. FBI be watching our lecture. Is our taxes paying for this AI stuff? Interesting question. Yeah. Technically. Our AI is paying for the development, or our government is paying for the development of AI through subsidies. Electric vehicles have a subsidy on them. And so every time you buy a Tesla, the government kicks in like $7,000 or something like that. And so that money goes to Tesla, and they invest part of that money into developing autonomous vehicles. Do you think AI will get political? Yeah, I do think so. The impact of AI has been fairly muted so far, but there's been some fairly high-profile cases, right? Like AI, like a lot of people think of AI as like, they can carry on a conversation with you. If you've seen The Good Guy or whatever with Deadpool, he's an AI, that acts and talks like a human. That's not really what we mean by AI these days. We're more interested in like specific tasks that computers are good at, like driving a truck or predicting when somebody's going to commit a crime. And so there's this whole thing out in around the country, which we'll talk more about on a future date. But like sentencing like when you sentence somebody to jail, judges will oftentimes use this software called Compass, and it will look at somebody's stats, and people will take like a survey or something like that, and it uses that to guess if they're gonna commit another crime. And it, according to ProPublica, tends to recommend longer sentences and a higher rate of recidivism by people based on the color of their skin. So, that's a problem. There's also predictive policing, where AI, again, it's not general intelligence, AI, like machine learning, whatever, it's all buzzwords. They do predictive policing, where they will predict which people in your neighborhood are going to commit crimes. And so there's this cop out near Tampa, and again, we'll talk more about this and dig into this later, who, he sends his cops by to just harass people. Like, if you're on the top 5 list of people likely to commit crimes, you'll have a cop car coming by your house every month saying, "How you doing? How you doing? What are you up to? Going to school? Look around. Is that drugs I smell?" And they come by and hassle you Rambo style. I don't know if you guys have seen Rambo. The whole reason why Rambo went Rambo on a town is because a cop was like, "We don't like your kind around here," and Rambo was just walking through this town, and this cop was like, "Hey, how about I give you a ride to the other side?" Kind of makes it clear that Rambo's not wanted there. And Rambo, of course, was an American war veteran, didn't take kindly to being told they didn't take kindly to him, and then ends up having this huge epic showdown with the police and things like that. So, Kearney, that should never be a thing. What are you talking about? Vin and Tao. Yeah. So, anyhow, yeah, that's what we mean by AI, and it's you don't think that's going to be political, longer sentencing guidelines based on skin color, predictive policing where cops come by and harass you, yeah, yeah, all that's going to be all that, yeah, it's all political, so, Animatrix, yeah, okay, so. An argument, I'm not going to show the Monty Python link here because I'll get copyright striked, but I will highly recommend that you go to YouTube and visit the Argument Clinic by Monty Python. By Monty Python, this one here. Don't play. Thank you. All right. I'm just going to link this to you on Discord. And in the Argument Clinic, this guy goes into a place where you can spend money to have an argument with somebody, and he goes in there and he pays his money and goes into a room and they abuse him. He's like, "This isn't, wait, I wanted an argument," and the guy's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, this is abuse. Our argument's next room." He goes in there and John Cleese just sits there and just contradicts everything he says. If he makes a claim, pizza's the best food, John Cleese will say, "No, it isn't." And he's like, "Look, you're not making a counter argument. You're just contradicting everything I said." And so if we looked at that hierarchy of disagreement, yeah, that one. Rational Wiki, amazing. That's the top one. Paul Graham, yeah. Yeah, just simply saying, "No, it isn't. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Time's up." What do you mean? That wasn't 5 minutes. Yes, it was. No, it isn't. Yes, it was. No, it isn't. And well, look, if you're look, you're still arguing with me. Clearly, our time's still on. Well, maybe I could be doing it in my free time. And so, contradiction is a very bad way of disagreeing with somebody. That's the point. And it's a very funny thing. If you haven't seen Monty Python, you need to get out there and live life a little more. Reality is often disappointing. Yeah. Ultron, right? Ultron would definitely be very political. Although the most realistic thing in that movie, which was, I think, my least favorite Marvel movie, Avengers: Age of Ultron. No, maybe there were a couple others I liked least. But the most realistic thing about Age of Ultron was Ultron was like all like, yeah, let's do this, humanity, let's go for it. And then he like watches, the YouTube comments. he reads social media and reads the comments section on YouTube, and he's like, no, humanity's irredeemable. We're burning this whole thing down. Most absolutely realistic part of the movie. Okay, so he browsed a Twitter thread. Yeah, he went on Tumblr. That was it. He's like, nope, Meteor. That's we're taking this whole thing out. Nope. Thor 2. Oh yeah, Dark World. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's probably some contenders up there. Captain Marvel is kind of boring. I wouldn't say it's a bad movie. It's kind of boring. Had a cool cat in it. Yeah. Okay. I feel bad for the aliens about to find out about Twitter. Yeah, well, why do you think they haven't contacted us yet, right? Okay. So what is an argument? An argument's when you want to, usually when you, casually speaking, an argument is when you want to persuade somebody that you're right. Okay? You have a belief and you want to persuade somebody else that you're right. They might disagree with you, and you're trying to get them to change their beliefs. Okay? And so, in that sketch, Monty Python defines it as a collective series of statements to establish a proposition. Right? You're trying to present evidence. You're making a series of statements, connecting the logic, showing evidence, trying to establish some proposition as being true. Okay? I call it a claim supported by evidence. So pizza's the best food on the planet. I will support this claim with evidence, right? That's really what an argument boils down to. You're trying to demonstrate a claim to be true. You're trying to establish a proposition to be true, and you make statements to the effect that show it to be true or likely to be true. Twitter's a funny place. I saw somebody saying that remakes and DLC was a problem with a new generation of consoles. Oh, sweet summer child. Ultron was upset no one was matching him on Tinder. Yeah, y'all hating on Twitter, but I'm on it 24/7. No, it's a thing. It's a thing. So basically, you have three things in a standard deductive argument. Yeah, no, I should be clear. I don't use Twitter. I just think it's a bad idea. Like, from a very high level perspective, I just think Twitter's just a bad idea because you're putting people who don't know each other in conversation with each other. And that has never been a good idea on the internet. And somebody thought it would be a good idea and made Twitter, and it wasn't a good idea. So, I'm going to kind of dunk on Twitter a fair bit this semester. Just please be aware that I'm sort of not that serious about it. Like, I sort of, I don't know. I'm just partly just being sarcastic about it. But I do use social media myself. I consider Facebook to be like a press release, right? So my kid's running for president. In fact, the election's today, So I'll probably post onto Facebook, vote for my daughter, or something like that, And I use Reddit and things like that. But yeah, please be aware if I'm like dunking on something like it. It's mostly humorous. Okay. Having Trump on Twitter was literally the worst idea ever. At the time he was using it like crazy was when I went to delete my account. Yeah, it's a weird... Yeah, I mean, now I'm being serious. It's just a weird notion for a website. It's just a weird... I don't know. Like, I'm actually being serious. I don't know why somebody thought it would be a good idea. Okay, so what's an argument? Basically, in a deductive argument, you're going to have your starting point, which are called the premises, and you reason from the premises to get to the conclusion. Sometimes you just jump there immediately. And so a deductive argument is one in which, if the premises are true, the conclusion must be true. Okay? So if x is equal to y, and y is equal to 2, then x plus y must equal 4, right? All men are mortal, Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. That's the conclusion must be true. If the premises, all men are mortal, Socrates is a man, if those premises are true, the conclusion must be true. That's what a deductive argument is. Okay. There's also things called inductive arguments where you sort of trying to say it's likely that something's true, which is kind of a different thing a little bit. Now I feel that Twitter's just too much, and I never really use it. Yeah, that's where I get my memes. Yeah, it's fair. It's fair. Like, please don't take me too seriously when I'm talking smack about Twitter. Okay, so you got your premises. These are the things we're going to assume to be true, or hopefully are true, or we can show to be true. It's our starting point for our argument, and we're going to reason from there to the conclusion. And in a deductive argument, if the premises are true, the conclusion must be true. Okay, so there's coming to the point for today. Pay attention, this is what the quiz is going to be on. Pay attention, this is what the quiz is going to be on. There's 3 kinds of arguments. There's an invalid argument, which is just a bad argument, and nobody should pay attention to it. There is a valid but not sound argument, and there's a sound argument. So, yeah. So, what are the 3 different categories? Invalid, valid but not sound, and sound. Okay, so what does that mean? What does it mean to be valid? What does it mean to be sound? Okay, so a sound argument is your good argument. A good argument, the best kind of argument, is a sound argument, valid and sound. What that means is the logic works and the premises are true. Okay? A valid but not sound argument is one where the logic works but the premises are wrong. For example, if there is a zombie outbreak, you should hide in the basement. Premise 1. Premise 2, there's a zombie outbreak going on right now. Conclusion, you should hide in the basement. So that is a valid argument. It's valid because the logic works. You go premise 1, premise 2, yep, the conclusion inevitably follows from premise 1 and premise 2. If there is a zombie outbreak, then you must hide in the basement. Premise 1. Premise 2, there is a zombie outbreak going on right now, which I'm pretty sure is false. Conclusion, you must hide in the basement right now. Okay? So, the logic works. If then, and then this is true, and then, so you must do this, right? It is a valid argument. The logic works. However, one of those 2 premises, or both, might not be true. It is not a sound argument because there is not, in fact, a zombie outbreak taking place right now, as far as I know, right? So, that's funny. Graham, can you find chair that includes all things that are chairs and excludes things that aren't? Separate seat for one person, typically with a back and 4 legs. Happy to help, but try Google next time. The definition of woman is there too. Chair. That's funny. It's like, when Aristotle or Plato defined, Plato defined a man as a featherless biped. And so Diogenes, who's a famous philosopher who lived in a barrel, and Plato, man is a featherless biped. Diogenes, is this Plato's man? He plucked a chicken. It's like, look, it's a human. If I were Alexander the Great, I would wish to be Diogenes. If I were not Diogenes, I would also wish to be Diogenes. He's a pretty funny dude. So, a little bit crude though. Diogenes, behold a man. Plato, okay. Plenty of Diogenes memes. Okay, so a valid argument is one in which the logic works, but one or more of the premises is wrong. A valid but not sound argument. An invalid argument is one where the logic just doesn't work. And a sound argument is a valid argument where the premises are true. So let's run through some examples. Okay? And whenever there's always the possibility for hair splitting when we do logic and philosophy, right? Like, in general, I'm not interested in hair splitting, right? Like, Socrates is the man. Well, Socrates isn't alive right now. He's dead, so it's wrong. I'm not interested in those kinds of, well, do you mean man or do you mean human? Okay. Not interested in that. Okay. So let's go through these arguments. Premise 1, Socrates is a man. What do you guys think? True or false? Or Socrates was a man, whatever. Do you think it is true or false that Socrates was a man? What do you think? True? Alright. I hear kids are geniuses at Roblox. Yeah. All men are mortal. Now this one, I don't know. I haven't died yet. I don't know. What do you think? Is it true that all men are mortal? In other words, all men will die. That's maybe you could argue not. I don't know. Nope, everyone's saying it's true. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I think most people agree with that. So Socrates is a man, all men are mortal. Therefore, Socrates is mortal. Does the conclusion follow from the premises? Right? And if you don't think you're mortal, then just wait for Hell in a Cell, right? What do you think? So does the conclusion follow from the premises? Like, if these two are true, must the conclusion be true? Okay, so if you agree the premises are true and that the conclusion follows from the premises, this is a sound argument. This is sound. It is valid and sound. It is valid and sound. But typically I abbreviate that to just sound. Because all sound arguments are valid. Not all valid arguments are sound. Okay, how about this one? All birds can fly. Bats are birds. Therefore, bats can fly. Let's take it, before you guess valid, invalid, or sound, let's take it one step at a time. Is it true that all birds can fly? Kiwi birds don't fly. Ostriches don't fly. Chickens kind of suck at flying. Yeah, so that's a false premise. So right off the bat, we know it can't be sound. Right? Might be invalid or might be valid. Okay, bats are birds. True or false? What do you think? Are bats birds? Pretty sure that the Fresno Chaffee Zoo is having an aneurysm right now from having this up on screen. Okay. Conclusion. Bats can fly. Well, I mean, we all know that's true. But here's the thing. Does the conclusion follow from the premises? If this premise was true, and this premise was true, would it be true that bats can fly? Batman can't fly. Oh, it's most definitely not sound. Both premises are false, in fact. For it not to be sound, you only need one of them not to be true. In this case, both of them are not true. So, if both of these premises were true, would the conclusion be true? And the answer is yes. Right? It's the exact same thing here. Socrates is a man, all men are mortal. Socrates is mortal, right? All members of a group have the property of being mortal. Socrates is a member of the group, therefore Socrates has the property mortal. You know? All birds have the property can fly. Bats are a member of the group birds, therefore bats can fly. The logic is actually valid. This is actually a valid argument. It is not sound. It's most definitely not sound, but it's a valid argument. Okay? What about penguins? Not all birds can fly. Yeah. That's not what valid means. Or it's valid but not sound. I should be a little more precise here. It is valid, but it is not sound. And this is something that explodes students' brains. It is not true that birds can fly. However, the logic works. The form of the argument works. All X are Y. Bob is an X, therefore Bob is Y. That is a valid form of argumentation. And so the logic works. The premises are not true. That's what makes something valid, but not sound. Okay? There's three options. Invalid, the logic doesn't work. Valid but not sound, the logic works. In this case, the logic is 100% correct here, but one or more of the premises are not true. And sound is the logic works, sound and valid. The logic works and the premises are all true. Okay, let's do another one. All cats are mammals. All dogs are mammals. Therefore, all cats are dogs. Premise 1, is this true? Is it true that all cats are mammals? Okay. Is it true that all dogs are mammals? Okay. Therefore, is it true? Does the logic follow? If we grant premise 1 and premise 2, does the conclusion follow inevitably from the premises? And the answer is no, right? All X have property Y, all Z have property Y, does not mean that X and Z are the same. For example, a horse has 4 legs and a chair has 4 legs, but that doesn't make a horse a chair. The logic does not work. And it doesn't make a chair a dog, and it doesn't make a cat a horse, just because they all have 4 legs. Two different things. Like it's like saying because my guitar is brown and the painting back here is brown, therefore my guitar is a painting. No, two things can share the same attribute, right, without being the same thing. And so this is an invalid argument. It doesn't matter. The premises is true. Doesn't matter. If the logic doesn't work, that's it. Game over. It's invalid. Okay. If Socrates was a philosopher, then he wasn't a historian. Let's say that you can only have one job. I guess I don't know. Let's say premise 1 is true, just for the hell of it. You can only have one main job, I guess. If Socrates was a philosopher, then he wasn't a historian. Premise 2, Socrates was not a historian. He wasn't, as far as I know. Therefore, Socrates was a philosopher. What if your dog acts like a cat? Yeah, or what if a cat acts like a dog? Yeah. Still, I don't know. You're getting into some deep philosophical territory there. So genetic essentialism. Do you have a performative cat or performative dog? Does that make it actually a dog? Or is there some genetic essentialism that makes a cat and a dog distinct because they have different DNA? I don't know. You tell me. So, what do you think? If X, then Y. Y, therefore X. What do you think? When you say true, Barba, do you mean it's a sound argument? Valid, but not sound? Or invalid? What do you think? Think it's all valid? All of you are wrong. If Socrates was a philosopher, then he wasn't a historian. Like I said, we'll say that's true. In fact, those of you saying valid, you should be saying sound, because he wasn't a historian, and I told you premise one was true for the sake of this argument, so it couldn't be valid. It would have to be sound, right? But this argument is wrong. The logic is wrong. If Socrates was a philosopher, then he wasn't a historian. But also, if he was an artist, he wasn't a historian. And also, if he was a author, he wasn't a historian. And also, if he was a wrestler, he wasn't a historian. Right? So just because we know he wasn't a historian doesn't mean we can conclude that he was a philosopher. It just means he had some other job than historian. Okay? So this is an invalid argument. This is not sound. This is an invalid argument. Because all we know is that he wasn't a historian. That doesn't tell us necessarily he was a philosopher. Right? He could have been a barista at the local Athenian Cup of Joy. Right? However you say that in Greek. Yeah, all X are Y, but not all Y are X. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Okay. Not sound. Invalid. Okay. Like I said, this does explode people's brains. It's kind of fun for me. Okay. Premise 1. All engineers enjoy ballet. Premise 2. Some males are engineers. Conclusion. Therefore, some males enjoy ballet. You're so lost? Good. Good. That's what you should be. Invalid, valid, or sound. Invalid means the logic does not work. Valid means, valid but not sound, means the logic works, but one or more of the premises are false. Sound means the logic works, and the premises are all true. Let's take it one step at a time. Premise 1, is it true? Is it true that all engineers enjoy ballet? No. Okay, so right off the bat we know it's not sound. So our two options then are going to be valid and invalid. Okay? Premise 2, some males are engineers. Is that true? Is premise 2 true? Yeah. Okay. So it doesn't matter that it's true, by the way. It's still not sound. If any of the premises are false, it's not a sound argument. Okay. Conclusion. Therefore, some males enjoy ballet. And when we're talking about invalid versus valid, you can't be distracted by anything other than the form of the argument, right? If we grant that premise 1 was true and we grant that premise 2 is true, would the conclusion be true? Does the conclusion follow from the premises? If it was true that engineers enjoy ballet and some males are engineers, then would it be true that some males would enjoy ballet? And the answer is yes. It would be true. We're saying all members of the group engineers enjoy ballet, and some males are a member of that group. Therefore, some members will enjoy ballet. Absolutely true. That is a valid argument, but not sound. Okay? This is a valid argument. This is a valid argument, but not sound. And if your brain's exploding a little bit, yeah. So it should be happening. Okay. So that's it for class for today. I could do another example if you want. Or we can just call it here. What do you feel like? One more example? Okay. Let's see here. I enjoy taking classes with awesome professors. Kearney is an awesome professor. Therefore, I enjoy taking classes with Kearney. Names are being logged. No, don't worry. Don't worry. I'm not gonna. Okay. Yeah, so it depends on the person, right? Like that's actually I'm being mostly humorous here, but yeah, it does depend on the person. Like that is more of an opinion thing. I'm mostly just being humorous. Let me do another one. Uh, uh, Dogs pant with their tongues when it is hot outside. You know they do this let's see. Dogs pant when they're hot. Let's put it that way. Which I'll say is true. I'll just give that one to you. That one's true. Dogs pant when it's hot outside. My dog is not panting right now. Therefore, it is not hot outside. So premise one, which I'm going to just say is true for the hell of it. Dogs pant when they're hot. Right? Premise two, my dog is not panting right now. And I'll just tell you that's true right now as well. Actually, I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm just going to tell you it's true. Why not? Why not? So, this is either going to be invalid or it's going to be sound. Right? So I'm telling you both of the premises are true. Dogs pant when it's hot. My dog is not panting. So, we've got two options now. It's either invalid or sound. Okay. Dogs pant when it's hot outside. My dog is not panting. Therefore, it is not hot outside. Is that a sound argument or is that an invalid argument? Can't be valid. Your two options are invalid and sound, right? Because if you say valid but not sound, I've already told you the premises are true. My dog pants when he's hot. He's not panting, therefore he's not hot. Let's just summarize it down to that. My dog pants when he's hot. He's not panting right now, therefore he's not hot. Doesn't matter. Yeah. My dog pants when he's hot. He's not panting, therefore he's not hot. Let's simplify it down to that. No, he knows it. I'm giving you both of those premises are true. So you don't need to split hairs over if the dog knows he's hot or not hot. You know, is the form of the argument good? If X, then Y, not Y, therefore not X. Is that a valid form of argumentation? If X is true, Y must be true. But we know Y is not true. Therefore, we can know X is not true. And that's actually a valid form of argumentation. So this is in fact a sound argument. So if my dog is hot, he pants. So if he was hot, he must be panting right now. However, he's not panting. So there's no way my dog can be hot, because if he was hot, he'd be panting. But he's not panting. Therefore, he's not hot. That is a valid form of argumentation. Therefore, because I granted you both of those premises to be true, it is a sound argument, in fact. So, how to overthink simple questions 101. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'm not super interested in like hair splitting and things like that. Like, you know, the definition of is anyway. We're over time already, so I'll put up what I think are some pretty simple, invalid, valid sound questions up on the quiz for today, and we'll probably revisit this several times because this is one of the central concepts in this class, and they will be on the midterm as well. So you will get lots of practice on them prior to getting tested on it on the midterm. Okay. All right. So thank you everyone for coming out. Hope you had a good time today. And the quiz is going to be hard. Yeah, probably will be. It's probably going to melt your brain a little bit. I can post a reading for you if you want to read more about it as well. Okay. So thanks, everybody. I will see you on Friday, and I'm going to get your attendance in probably in the next hour or so for the last week. Okay, thanks, everyone. Peace out.